chapter 6 of my book called Slang Through the Ages, A Historical Perspective. Chapter 6 is called The Future of Slang, Predictions and Speculations. And the subtitles are, Will Slang Ever Go Out of Style? Spoiler alert, nope. The Impact of Social Media on Slang Evolution, and What Will Our Grandkids Laugh About? And the short answer to that is us, and how old-fashioned we are and how stupid we are and all those kinds of things. Soon enough, they will be in our position and the roles will be reversed, huh? Chapter 6, The Future of Slang, Predictions and Speculations. Will slang ever go out of style? Spoiler alert, nope. Paragraph 1. Slang is like that one friend who shows up at every party no matter how many times you tell them the theme has changed. Why would that keep them from showing up to the party? You might think that slang would eventually pack its bags and disappear into the abyss of linguistic history, but let's face it, it's here to stay. As long as humans communicate, we'll find ways to sprinkle our conversations with colorful expressions that often leave the uninitiated scratching their heads. From far out to lit, slang evolves, but it never really goes away. So take a deep breath and prepare to embrace the chaos of ever-changing vernacular. On to paragraph 2. Consider the historical evolution of slang terms. Each generation has its own unique brand of lingo, serving as a linguistic fingerprint of its time. The Roaring Twenties had flappers and their bee's knees, and I just heard the guy on the news use the phrase, the bee's knees, in talking about a spelling bee, so that was fun. While the 60s counterculture introduced us to groovy and far out, fast forward to today, and we're all about vibe checks and stan culture. Stan, for the uninitiated, is a stalker fan. It's as if slang is a time-traveling magician always conjuring up a new phrase just when you think you've heard it all. And while some terms may fade away like last year's fashion, others stick around like that stubborn piece of gum on the bottom of your shoe. Lunch break, I just air-fried some vegetables, roasted Brussels sprouts, and butternut squash. There's the butternut squash. And I can hear my pineapple sausage whistling in the microwave.
We're asking that we keep a close eye on particularly
with rosemary. Paragraph 3. Now let's dive into the delightful world of gendered slang differences. It's fascinating how men and women often create their own dialects within the broader lexicon of slang. Women might use slay to celebrate a fabulous outfit, while men might refer to the same outfit as sick. It's like watching two different teams play the same game, but with entirely different rules. I don't think this is really all that accurate. Men and women use much the same lingo. I'm just not enjoying this book. These variations not only reflect cultural attitudes, but also highlight how slang can serve as a vehicle for identity. So whether you're slaying or sick, just know you're part of the ongoing conversation, one that is as rich and varied as the people who speak it. Paragraph 4. As we ponder whether slang will ever go out of style, let's not forget the role of social media in keeping it alive and kicking. One minute you're scrolling through your feed, and the next you're hit with a barrage of new phrases that make you feel like your grandma trying to understand what yeet means. That one is rather obscure, I must say. The constant churn of content keeps slang fresh and exciting, ensuring that even the most outdated terms have a chance to make a comeback. After all, what's old is new again. In conclusion, the answer to whether slang will ever go out of style is a resounding no. Is slang the ultimate trendsetter? No. Slang follows the trends. Slang is not the trendsetter. Paragraph 5. In conclusion, the answer to the question whether slang will ever go out of style is a resounding no. It's woven into the fabric of language, adapting and evolving as society changes. So the next time someone rolls their eyes at your use of on fleek, just smile and remember that they're probably using their own version of slang that will sound just as ridiculous in a few years. Embrace the ebb and flow of language and know that as long as humans have been talking, slang will keep crashing the party. Fashionably late, of course. That's accurate, as long as humans have been talking, which, presuming Adam and Eve talked and their kids talked I'm sure their kids were using slang in the interest of their parents not understanding what they're talking about, so they could get away with whatever they wanted to do without their parents knowing enough to stop them. Subtitle 2. The impact of social media on slang evolution. Paragraph 6 in total for the chapter. The advent of social media has turned the world of slang upside down faster than you can say LOL. Once upon a time, if you wanted to know the latest slang, you'd have to hang out with the cool kids at school or decipher the cryptic notes passed around during class. Now, with a quick scroll through Instagram or Twitter, you can find an entire thesaurus of new terms that are trending fast. The real question is, how did we go from groovy to lit in the blink of an eye? And why does it feel like we're all speaking a different language every week? And the answer is, with each generation and or subgeneration, they're trying to have their own identity, number one, and they're also trying to be clandestine from their parents and from their teachers and from other people knowing what they're talking about, or even that they're talking. We used to use American Sign Language, whatever it is, I don't even remember it, but we used to do that so we could talk to each other during class without making any noise. Paragraph 7. One of the most amusing aspects of social media-driven slang evolution is the sheer speed at which phrases go from obscurity to ubiquity. A term can start in one obscure corner of the internet, maybe a meme or a TikTok dance challenge, and before you know it, your grandmother is dropping yeet in casual conversation. It's as if slang has become the ultimate game of telephone where each user adds their own flair, and by the end, you're left wondering whether on fleek means your eyebrows are well groomed or if you're just very excited about your new pair of socks. Paragraph 8. Of course, we can't ignore the role of gender in this wild world of slang. Social media platforms provide a stage for different groups to showcase their unique vernaculars. You might notice that while some phrases gain traction in male-dominated gaming communities, others blossom in the floral paradise of influencer culture. This leads to a delightful mismatch of language where slay and boss babe coexist with savage and bruh. It's like a linguistic potluck where everyone brings their favorite dish and you end up with a buffet of conflicting tastes that somehow manages to please everyone. Paragraph 9. Let's not forget the occasional cringe factor that comes with this rapid evolution. Take finesse, for instance. It went from being a smooth way to achieve something to being turned into a meme about sneaking snacks into the movie theater. Social media users have an uncanny ability to take a perfectly respectable word and twist it until it resembles a pretzel. It's like watching your favorite childhood toy being used in a bizarre TikTok challenge. Sure, it's entertaining, but you can't help but feel a bit nostalgic for the days when cool simply meant cool and not cool beans or coolio. Paragraph 10. In the end, social media is both the villain and the hero of slang evolution. It democratizes language, allowing anyone with a smartphone and a sense of humor to contribute to the ever-evolving lexicon. At the same time, it creates a whirlwind of new phrases that can make even the most seasoned slang aficionado feel like they've stepped into a time warp. As we navigate this chaotic landscape, one thing is certain: the language of the internet will continue to grow and change, leaving us all to ponder what on earth sus really means and whether we should be using it in polite conversation. Well, as a musician, I think of sus as a suspension, a suspended note from a previous chord, like a sus4 or even a sus2 or a sus9. Typically, from the Bach era, sus was a sus4. So sus stood for suspended. Now it stands for suspect. Where in the world should we go for our next video about international slang? Ethiopia. All right. Okay. That could be fun. What the heck are they talking about in Ethiopia? What else we got? Man, focused on Africa. What is that? Congo? I think just below Sched, just above Angola and Zambia. Surrounded by Tanzania. Code Livre. I know a guy there. He's in the government, actually. He went to college here in San Diego. He has 2 PhDs in conflict resolution. And yeah, great guy. Hilaire. Subheading 3. What will our grandkids laugh about? Us. Paragraph 11. What will our grandkids laugh about? Picture this, a group of teenagers huddled around their holographic devices, chuckling at the ancient texts of their ancestors. They stumble upon our current slang, and between fits of giggles, they try to decipher the meaning of words like lit, fam, and yeet. To them, it's as if we were speaking in an alien dialect. They might imagine we were referring to some bizarre ritual involving fire and family gatherings, or worse, that yeet was a form of greeting used in the prehistoric era. The absurdity of our language will likely be a source of endless embarrassment. I disagree with that. Think about us analyzing the slang from, say, the 1930s, the Prohibition era. It's been around for 100 years, so we're well acquainted with the meanings. I mean, yes, the language is a little archaic, and we might chuckle at some of the goofy words, like bee's knees, but we know what they mean. Paragraph 12. Historical evolution plays a significant role in this comedic future. Just as we laugh at the slang of the 1920s, who wouldn't chuckle at the notion of the bee's knees or cat's pajamas? Next-gen kids will undoubtedly find the lexicon of the early 21st century to be a treasure trove of hilarity. They'll marvel at how we used words like bail to mean leaving a situation, rather than our ancestors' more literal interpretation of escaping from prison, or bailing hay for that matter. The irony of using ghosting to describe someone vanishing from a conversation will likely leave them in stitches, picturing actual ghosts lurking around chatting teens. Gender differences in slang will also provide rich material for their laughter. Imagine a future where slay is understood universally, but girl boss is seen as an archaic term for women in leadership. Our grandkids may find it hilarious that we felt the need to gender our slang so distinctly. They'll laugh at how we used man up to encourage bravery, while the equivalent phrase for women was likely something entirely different, possibly involving a reference to a tea party. The thought of our efforts to empower versus the banter of a future generation will be a comedic cultural clash to behold. Paragraph 14. Moreover, the societal norms surrounding language will also tickle their funny bones. They'll wonder why we insisted on using adulting as if it were a verb worthy of celebration. To them, it might seem ridiculous that we needed a term to describe the mundane acts of life, like paying bills and grocery shopping, actions that are as intrinsic to existence as breathing. They'll likely have their own versions of adulting, which will be equally absurd, and they'll revel in the irony of how seriously we took our own linguistic inventions. Paragraph 15. In the end, our grandkids will look back at our slang with a sense of nostalgia and amusement. They'll see it as a snapshot of a time when we were trying to navigate the complexities of life using a language that often felt like a game of charades. As they laugh about our quirky expressions in gendered terms, they'll be reminded of their own linguistic evolution, wondering what they'll be saying in a few decades that will leave their own descendants rolling their eyes and giggling at the absurdity of it all. And a large part of that has to do with how much the current generation or a current generation respects their parents. You know, I would dare say that a lot of our slang, a lot of our music is kind of built on what we used to listen to, discluding genres such as rap. Smooth jazz is really R&B with no vocals. I digress. Anyway, talk soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. It really does help. I have yet to make any money doing this. And let's face it, really, that's the bottom line reason I'm spending my time, my valuable time, doing stuff like this. So if you would help me continue to be able to, that would be wonderful.